Hello and welcome back to another Advancing Christian. My name is Scott Fisher, and this is Advancing Christian, and this is our third part, Never Alone. We're never alone. And it's entitled, The God Who Sees Me. God sees us even in our troubles, even when we don't think He sees us. God is always present and always sees. This is his name. El Roi is part of his name. And this ties back to Genesis 16. Genesis 16, 1 through 14 states, Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne no children. She had a female Egyptian servant whose name was Hagar. Sarai and Abram, behold, now the Lord has prevented me from bearing children. Now my servant, it may be that I shall obtain children by her. And Abraham listened to the voice of Sarai. Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan. Sarai and Abram's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian servant, and gave her to Abram, her husband, as a wife. And he went into her, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, she looked in contempt on her mistress. Sarah said to Abram, May the wrong done to me be done to you. I have gave my servant the embrace of Abram. And when she saw that she had conceived, and the Lord judged between me and you. But Abram said to Sarai, Behold, your servant is in your power. Please do as you please. Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her. The angel of the Lord found by the spring of the water in the wilderness, and the spring of the way of shore. And he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going? She said, I am fleeing from my mistress, Sarai. The angel of the Lord said to her, Return to your mistress and submit to her. Then the angel of the Lord said to her, I will surely multiply your offspring, so they cannot be numbered for multitude. The angel of the Lord said to her, Behold, you are pregnant and shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord listened to your affliction. He shall be a wild donkey of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he shall dwell over against all his kinsmen. So she called on the name of the Lord and spoke to her, You are the God who sees. For she said, For truly I have seen that you look after me. Let's pause for a minute here and take a look back. Even through the troubles of Hagar, she goes through all these trials and difficulties. She has to follow after. What her master tells her, and yet so many troubles befall her. She becomes pregnant, and she has to go through this very, very tumultuous time where her and her masters are battling it out, if you will. But God is still on her side, and God still sees, because we are never alone. We are never alone. God sees. And so she calls out El Roi after she sees the pain and the provision given. Have you ever felt invisible or forgotten? Hagar the slave was cast out into the wilderness and discovered something miraculous, that God sees. And God understands that He's with you always. Do you understand that He's with you always? God sees the world and overlooks the rejected. And God sees the world and overlooks, but the rejected and misused he treats fairly. He treats unfairly, but the rejected and misused he brings closer. He sees them. In Psalms 10. In Psalms 10:14 it says, let's take a look at the rest of it too. Psalms 10:1. Why, Lord, do you stand far away from me? Why do you hide yourself in the times of trouble? In arrogance the wicked hotly pursue the poor. Let them be caught in schemes they devise. For the wicked boasts in the desires of his soul, and the one greedy for gain curses and renounces of the Lord. The pride of his face, the wicked does not seek him. All his thoughts are, there is no God. His ways prosper at all times. Your judgments are on high, your judgments are on high, out of his sight. As far as his foes, he puffs at them. He says in his heart, I shall not be moved. Throughout the generations I shall not meet adversity. His mouth is filled with cursing and deceit and oppression. Under his tongue the mischief and iniquity. He sits in ambush in the villages. In hiding places he murders the innocent. His eyes stealthily watch for the helpless. He lurks in the ambush like a lion in the thicket. He lurks that he may seize the poor. He seizes the poor and draws them into his net. The helpless are crushed and sink down and fall by his might. He says in his heart, God is forgotten. He has hidden his face and will never see it. But we know we are never alone. We know that God is with us. We know God sees. Even though it seems that God is forgotten, as it says in 12, arise, O Lord, lift up your hand, forgot not the afflicted. Why does the wicked renounce God, and say in his heart, you will not call to account? But you do see those that note mischief and vexation, that they may take it into your hands. You do see. You do understand the feelings of the oppressed and the afflicted and the rejected and the misused, because you had felt these before. And before all time and space, you understand that you've been rejected, that God had gone through these things, because he came in the form of Jesus and had to take sin debt upon himself. And that was a sin debt before all time and space. People don't realize that sometimes. That even though it was in our time, God eternally had that reach out for all the generations. And even though we don't see it, God does see us. God does see us. God comes to the desperate and discarded and answers with hope. Do you think Hagar felt the same way? She felt like there wasn't any way for her to have any hope in the situation. It seemed like her masters were against her in this moment. Oh, have your way with her and be done with her and figure out what the answer is there. But no, God had an answer. He lifted her up out of her troubles, and there was an answer. There was a seeing. Exodus 3:7. And this is in the time of Moses and the burning bush. And 3:7 continues. Then the Lord said, I surely have seen the afflicted of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of the taskmasters. I know their sufferings. He sees the cry of the oppressed. He sees those that are downtrodden and feel like they're alone. But we know we're never alone because God is with us. I have seen and I have come to rescue. I have seen and I have come to rescue. I have seen the afflicted of my people in Egypt, and I lift them out of their depression. I lift them out of their difficulties. Luke 7. Luke 7:13. Jesus is answering Jesus is answering and raising a widow's son. And let's just continue with the whole thing here. Just get the whole idea of what's going on here. Soon, continuing at 11, Luke 7:11. Soon after, he went he went to a town called Nain with his disciples, and a great crowd went with him. This is referring to Jesus and his disciples. After he drew near the gate of the town, behold, a man who had died and was being carried out, and the only son of his mother, and he was a widow, and she was a widow, and considerable crowd from the town was with her. And when the Lord came near and saw her with his eyes, and he had compassion on her. He saw her first, and then had compassion to reach out on her, and said to her, weep not. So he saw her, he had compassion, and he spoke. He saw her, he had compassion, and he spoke. That's how we know we're never alone, because God sees us, he has compassion, and we know we're never alone. Because he speaks out, he reaches out. And then he came and touched her touched the bier, and the biers stood up. And he said to the young man, I say to you, rise. So not only did he see her, he saw her, he saw the condition, he had compassion, and he spoke and reached out. And this is how we're supposed to go about it, because sometimes in our difficulties, we don't know how to reach out to others in our difficulties. But God comes to us and he sees us and he does the same. He gives us the example. He gives us the example to see, to reach out, to lift up, to call out. Jesus had compassion for the weeping and the grieving. So should we. Jesus leaves the 99 for the one. That's in Luke 15. Key parts are 4 through 7. But the main part starts a little before, in 3. No, actually, before that. In 1 through the rest of it. Now, 4 through 7, I'm sorry. 4 through 7. is the main part. Now, starting in 1 though, now the tax collectors and sinners were all drawing near to him, and the Pharisees and scribes grumbled, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." So he gave them a parable. What man of you, having 100 sheep, if you have lost one of them, does not leave the 99 in the open countryside and go after the one that's lost until he finds it? And if he finds it, he lays down his shoulder, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice for me, I have found my lost sheep that was lost." Just so, I will tell you, there will be more joy in heaven for the one sinner who repents over the 99 righteous person who need no repentance. And he sees us. He sees us in our trouble. He sees us, so before, remember, we talked about he sees us in our trouble. He sees us, and he calls us to compassion. In Jesus' words, he sees us, he calls us to compassion. And he calls us forth from our distress, and he reaches out. But now we see a different part. Once we go through this whole process here, he also calls us back into repentance again, and out of our troubles. He leaves the 99 for the one, and the person's gaze is not general but focused. It's focused and fixed on repentance. It's focused and fixed on getting them out of their trouble and to no longer go back to it. You are not invisible. God sees you and calls you by name, and he calls you out of your troubles. Till next time, we'll be focusing on the fellowship of the broken.